Hello and good morning, friends. Another exciting day in Empires and Puzzles has brought us a brand new portal once more. And with it, this time around, we have the Shadow Summon and a new hero that's looking very adventurous, I guess is the word I will use for this character. Very, very interesting look. I I do like the art. I think it's a very cool effect. So let's see what this red paladin has in store for us. First of all, a reminder of what we get for our Forsaken family bonus for Amarosa. We get a bonus for 1, 2, or 3 heroes with 15, 20, 30% critical chance and 20, 30, 40% health. So, very nice to start out with a baseline crit. Not nearly as much as, say, the Outlaws family, but it is nice to get that extra damage in. And the health bonus is solid too. All right, so what else do we got here? We have ourselves a couple passives. We have the Minion Corruption. At the end of each turn, enemies with Insanity have that chance to turn their minions and Mega Minions into fiends. This is based off the number or the amount of Insanity they have, and then at 70 Insanity, it will activate automatically, turning them into the fiends. So a minion will transform into an Eldritch Fiend with 15% attack, 18% health, and inflicts 5 Insanity every turn. Honestly, right there to point out the 5 Insanity every turn is probably the most viable part of that, so just keep that in mind. Then also we have a Mega Minion will transform into a Mega Fiend with 115% attack, 68% health, and inflicts 10 Insanity each turn. Pretty interesting stuff. Okay, so it's nice that that's just a passive now for all of these guys as opposed to being part of their special in the past. All right. We also get branded by the Old Ones. All damage from normal attacks and special skills dealt by this character are increased by 6% per 10 Insanity on this character, up to a maximum of 60%. So with this particular passive, I always call it a double-edged sword effect, because you have to remember that although it is cool to start increasing your damage done, I love that. We like doing more damage. It goes up with your insanity level. And as your insanity level goes up, there's also a higher chance that you're backfiring. So as you do more damage, there's the higher chance you're actually hitting yourself. And that's why I call it a double-edged sword, because in reality, if you're not managing your insanity well while using this character, she's probably just hitting your team harder, and that's not great. So just be aware of that. Okay. Then over here we have Vampire. So at the start of the battle, this hero heals for 100% of their dealt normal damage for 6 turns. So if you like stacking teams that do large amounts of tile damage, that could be interesting with the vampire effect. So something to keep in mind there. All right, down in our specials department, we have Sword of Zuvash. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to mispronounce the heck out of that. Moving on, it's a sword effect. It is going to deal 525% damage to the enemy with the lowest remaining HP. It deals 300% damage to all other enemies. Inflicts 20 insanity on all enemies. Ooh, that's interesting. And the caster steals 70% of any healing applied to all enemies for 4 turns. Wow. Casting this special inflicts 45 insanity on the caster. So this is operating at average speed. So this is very interesting to me. Look, after reading this special, we're going to get into this, the pros and the cons, etc. I will start out by saying I'm usually pretty biased against insanity heroes. I don't particularly enjoy the idea or the risk of turning a special back around on yourself in the middle of a fight. But there are certain exceptions in where I feel like insanity is designed as a way to sort of push you ahead in advantage over your opponents. But you have to win in a relatively quick window with an insanity team. It's just how they work. If you don't win in that short window time, you're probably going to end up making your life harder, and helping kill yourself for them. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, here we are with an interesting character that I think functions almost perfectly as a defensive hero. On offense, she's still very good too, but I like how they've designed her special to sort of force the AI to function in as efficient a way as possible. So let's go into what I mean by that. So right here, we're doing the 525% damage, which will be a pretty decent hit at a 1954 attack rating. So keep that in mind. Pretty strong attack rating, pretty strong hit. And it guarantees to hit the target with the lowest remaining HP. So even on defense, this sniper is going to function and probably take out the lowest remaining HP target. It's going to deal 300% damage to all other enemies. This is nice too, because we do like hit alls on defense, right? This is a way to ensure that you're pushing out maximum damage potential possible, and it's a hit all. So it will hit everyone on the board, regardless on if there's like someone broken in a chain. Like when you're trying to do a hit 3 and maybe someone's missing and you can only hit 2 targets. That's not the case with a hit all. So very effective in the way that she's choosing to do her damage here. And then it's going to inflict 20 insanity on all enemies. That means you're putting out 100 insanity, or at least a potential 100 insanity if your entire opposing team is up. Now, one thing I don't like about this is it does make your insanity go wide. So you're hitting, possibly 5 targets, yeah, but only with 20 insanity, which is not a very high trigger point, and one heals off 50 of that possible 100 insanity you put out there, correct? So, like, understand that you're not making it very difficult for them to clear this insanity back off, but it does still require them to clear that insanity back off or risk their specials backfiring, and it's everybody's special. So, like, I do think there is some use to this, and then you just hope and pray that you catch them on the low odds to help you there. So that is cool. Like, it's not amazing, but it is pretty cool. And then the caster steals 70% of any healing applied to all enemies for 4 turns. This is where I absolutely adore her, because if you remember when I said that insanity sort of gives you a window in which you're required to win, and if you move past that window, you're going to have a harder time getting wins. This is an absolutely amazing ability for that, because you're basically reducing all healing by 70% to help you kill everything within that window. Not only that, but she's not just reducing their healing, she is stealing it. So you can use this hero as, like, I mean, I don't know if you want to use her as a tank, but I think you could tank her, and she'll be getting the additional healing as ways to increase her own survivability. I do think that's nice, but just remember, if you do put her in a tank spot, they could push tiles into her and try to get her to go off as many times as possible, and eventually you're going to get caught with that insanity backfire, right? So I don't know if I would tank her. I think I would just use her healing as extra survivability, but may even intentionally put her out towards, like, flank or wing, so that she's not as easy to try to push through multiple specials to get the insanity backfires. So we do have to rate this character, right? Look, again, I'm not a huge fan of insanity heroes, so it's going to be hard for me to push them much past an 8. I think this character is clearly a solid 8. I'm tempted to push her into a 9, because I think that she functions so efficiently for defense that it's one of the first insanity heroes that I would be interested in using on my defense team, because I think she effectively does everything she needs to do to be valuable, even though she does add the chaos of having insanity within the match. So let's give her a high 8, a possible 9. I'd love to see her play out a bit, but I'm just saying, like, she's a great hero. She's even above average. Let's just say that on a scale of 100, she's like an 88, 89. So yeah. Anyway, point is, very cool hero. If you pull her, congratulations. And I do appreciate you tuning in, guys. Empires and Puzzles has been taking a little sabbatical after the birthday event, where they haven't really been interacting quite as much with us as content creators. I'm not sure if that is intentional, or if some of the people there maybe just took some vacation time, or whatever the case may be. But I'm sure their newsreels will be back into effect. You notice they didn't really post much videos on the newsreels this month. They missed the Hero of the Month. They missed the Easter heroes, all of that fun stuff. So anyway, point is, I'm sure they'll be back around. I'm sure that'll kick back up again. But for for now, you just got to find us on the forums and everything like that. The review videos will still be out there. You just have to put a little more effort into finding them. And if you want to avoid that effort, you could always hit that follow button. And that way, all my content will kind of be driven to you. So something to keep in mind. All right, everyone, we'll see you next time.